The latest dev diary for Elite Dangerous Odyssey has now been released. This one focuses on a bunch of new things, including walking in stations, on-foot mission boards, suits, the Apex transport service, and much more. So, let's take a look. There's a lot of stuff to talk about with Odyssey. The update is still around 5 months out, however Frontier are already revealing many interesting things. So here's our first look inside not only buildings, but also inside space stations. This particular example appears to be situated within an asteroid station, as we can see in this clip right here. The stations themselves appear to be hubs of various types of activities, from picking up missions to equipping weapons and suits. Now, whilst the station does appear to be a hub of sorts, it also seems that the players will not be able to walk around the entire station, but rather a selection of areas. And this makes complete sense, as each of these stations has more area than most cities. Within the stations, players will be able to access the following services, among perhaps others, but these are the ones listed on the sign in the hub: Apex Interstellar Transport, the Lounge, Pioneer Supplies, Frontline Solutions, a place called Inter Astra, as well as Vista from Genomics. Now, all of these are entirely new names. Most of them are self-explanatory, and a few are somewhat of a mystery. Whilst the developers don't talk about each of these services specifically, there's enough info in the video to get an idea of what most of them are all about, so let's take a look at that. Apex is a new service within the game that will allow players to move between ports that are within a jump range. I would assume this includes both space-based as well as ground-based ports. At the moment, it's not entirely clear if this will allow players to move between ports within the same star system or only between different star systems, but I suspect both are likely. There's also no detail on whether moving between ports will occur in real time or if it will be an instant transfer type of deal. Now, Frontier were pretty clear in the dev diary that they want to give players options on how they want to play Odyssey. For example, the player can engage entirely within their ship, just as they do now, or they could also opt to play entirely on foot. Apex will support that type of gameplay, allowing players to move around the galaxy without a ship. But Odyssey will of course also allow players to play in both their ship as well as on foot and interchange as they see fit. Now, how Frontier go about the social aspects of the game might, in some degrees at least, be measured by the types of activities that will be possible within the pilot's bar. Regardless of what activities are available here though, the pilot's bar was shown in the video and it had some pretty nice views. In fact, the video actually opened with a view from the pilot's bar. Weapons and other equipment look like they will be available at the Pioneer Supplies. Concept art shows all manner of equipment available from this location, including both weapons and suits. Frontier did touch on the subject of suits. We know from previous information that suits will determine how players survive outside on the surface of planets, but they will have specific energy requirements among other things. New details state that a range of suits will be available, with each type being suitable for specific activities, and this means that there will be suits for combat, exploration, scavenging, and hopefully other activities as well. In fact, with the scavenging, they talked about going through wrecks to find loot. From a purely speculative point of view, it seems that suits will be a big focus for Odyssey, much in the same way that ships are a huge focus currently in the game. Now, whilst Frontier haven't specifically spoken about suit upgrades or indeed engineered suits, in my opinion at least, these seem like a given, highly possible. Frontline Solutions specifically showed the text "Join the Fight" at its booth. Now, there's little else going on here aside from a system map, and keep in mind of course that all of this is pre-development footage, so some of this might possibly be placeholder. But at any rate, there's no official information on this just yet. One thing that we do know, which I'll get into in just a moment, is that mission boards have their own specific area, so Frontline Solutions is unlikely to be missions. If I was to speculate here though, I can think of an option, a few in fact, but the main one would be PvP and PvE combat zones of some type. Frontier have previously mentioned combined arms more than once. In their official announcement they say, the sphere of combat. Experience intense first-person combat, kit out your character with an array of weapons and gear, and coordinate with teammates to master a multi-layered, deep tactical environment where commanders' SRVs and starships converge. Whilst over on Polygon in an interview we have the following quote: Frontier also said that the expansion will feature combined arms combat, bringing together surface vehicles and starships with players on the ground. Now, Odyssey, of course, will likely allow combat to emerge dynamically in-game where players decide to fight it out with each other. Additionally, I believe it will also be possible for players to attack settlements, which opens up PvE combined arms, as well as allowing players to create a task force of ships, ground troops, and vehicles to achieve all of this. The problem, of course, though, is that Elite has a huge galaxy, so a way of coordinating all of this seems necessary. So maybe that's where Frontline Solutions comes in, a way to basically allow players to drop into some sort of combat zones. Highly speculative, of course. What do you think the service might be for? And also, as another side note, all of this would be highly dependent on Elite's network code, which up until now probably wouldn't support this type of activity, so hopefully there's some improvements right there. The next area is Astra. It's clearly a ship showroom, a place to purchase ships whilst on foot. This is a nice way of ensuring that Odyssey integrates nicely into the rest of the game. On the subject of transport, I also wonder if Odyssey will be introducing new types of SRVs. This would be a huge thing to miss out on, especially with the concept of combined arms, so hopefully there will be something here in that regards, and maybe something for a future dev diary then. Next up, we have Vista. Now, there appears to be no images in the video that relate to this one at all. However, the word Vista and also the word genomics likely are a giveaway here. Vista, of course, is scenery. Genomics relates to the study of organisms. We know from a previous dev diary that it will be possible to collect genetic information from organisms on the surface of planets. So this is likely the department where that data will be sold, but I guess we'll have to see. Now, missions can be picked up from dedicated mission boards. Frontier have stated that missions are the main way for players to earn credits whilst on foot. I'm curious to see what types of missions these will be. Combat seems likely, along with exploration on top of other things. Talking of activities then, Frontier mentioned that all of the activities that can be done in space will also have an analogue on the ground. Combat and exploration have been mentioned. Mining is something that hasn't been discussed though, so I'd like to see if that will be a thing. Finally, the outposts and settlements look pretty darn good. Some of these, at least the ones shown in the video, follow the same style as the ground settlements that we can already access via SRV. However, here they appear to be more complete and detailed. Further, outposts are controlled by minor factions. The faction running the show is determined by the background simulation. This in turn will affect the NPCs that are present inside the ports and settlements. The implication seems to be that their appearance, maybe things such as their uniform then, will change from faction to faction and therefore from area to area. What will also be interesting to find out will be if the BGS can also be affected via ground-based gameplay. Either way then, right now, what's interesting to me is that Frontier want the on-foot segments of Odyssey to exist side by side with the ship-based segments, giving players the freedom to play Elite entirely on foot, but also to swap between the two modes of play. It's an interesting way to approach the update, and if it plays out as Frontier appear to be planning, then there's a lot of potential there. That then brings us to an end of this video. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys and girls next time.